Can you people? Can you people hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, ma'am.
लेकिन फोटो नहीं आ रहा है सामने जो है।
What? क्या तस्वीर नहीं आ रही? आवाज नहीं आ रही?
मैम आवाज आ रही है।
अच्छा, तस्वीर नहीं आ रही है। चलो कोई बात नहीं। Hello, everybody. Good evening very much. And today, one second. Today we have come here, we have gathered to listen to the 20th Manoranjan Jha Memorial Lecture in the series. And every Saturday, we all come together to listen to some great speaker on a particular topic. So today we have amidst us Professor H. Srikanth. He is a very senior faculty member at the Northeastern Hill University, popularly called NEHU, Manipur. He has been the head Department of Political Science at NEHU since 2018. He has many PhDs. He has also been the editor of the NEHU Journal. He has been a very active member of different committees of the UGC and the ICSSR. And he has also contributed to creating a course on indigenous studies in Jharkhand University. Today, he will deliver a lecture on the political economy of culture industry in India. We have as our discussant today, Dr. Bhagisha Suman, who is the assistant professor here in the Department of Political Science at BHU. So I would just like Dr. Bhagisha to give you a elementary knowledge and elementary awareness of what the topic is all about. And she would try to contextualize Professor H. Srikanth's lecture. So please listen to her intently. And then it will be followed by Professor Srikanth's lecture. So over to Dr. Bhagisha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I'm audible. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to introduce and discuss the ensuing talk of Professor H. Srikanth, which is titled as Political Economy of Culture in India. While political economy has had a very rich and diverse tradition, and with a growing emphasis on interdisciplinarity, it has regained its relevance. What the title of Professor Srikanth's work alludes to, and the focus of the work is basically on the concept of culture industry. And falling in the tradition of critical theory, the concept or theory of culture industry was given by two leading lights of the School of Critical Theory, Max Horkheimer and Theodor Adorno, who developed this concept of culture industry to bring the two paradoxical concepts or ideas together, where we have culture, which signifies and evokes the imagery of creativity, uniqueness, naturalness, and being intrinsic to our to ourselves or our existence on the one hand, and on the other hand, we have industry, this word industry, which signifies the idea of being organized on large scale, manufactured, and mass production based. As polar opposites, these two terms have been clubbed together and developed as an important theory to understand the post-1945 realities and times of Europe, where mass media had already made inroads in the lives of people of these relatively affluent societies. And now this is very relevant, I believe, in contemporary times when the erstwhile third world, this term was earlier used very commonly, and the so-called countries of global south now are facing the same times. So the question which largely is there, and which the critical theorists through this concept of culture industry are bringing forth, is that whether the era of enlightenment and modernity, did they bring something or some capacity for us to see things more clearly and critically? Did this control over nature, over our material reality, really signified something concrete, something more critical? And the critical theory and its very important names like Adorno and Horkheimer, they have brought the focus back to this question of human creativity, which Marx had already talked about in his work. So to situate Professor Srikanth's work in today's context, it is important to ask that if by being educated or being flooded with data and information, are we knowing more or less about ourselves and the society in which we are living? The theoretical lens of critical theory exhorts us to question what we consider as given, as status quo. And I cannot but do without taking the name of another very important theoretician, another very important scholar, Robert Cox, Canadian scholar of British IP, International Political Economic Tradition, also known as a very important name in critical theory, who asks this question and who differentiates between
I'm there, but I'm not sure.
So he brings this very important question of theory's value ladenness and biasness. And without further ado, we are very excited to listen to Professor H. Srikanth, what he has to say. So over to you, sir. Very happy to have you here. And please, sir. Sir? Srikanth, sir, are you able to listen to us?
Yeah, I'm able to listen to you. Only problem is the video. I'm not able to, I'm not visible in the video, rather.
Okay.
The sofa is visible.
So I think you, sir, need to turn your camera. Maybe it's, you just need to flip it.
Just let me see whether.
There is an option. Our students, can someone please guide sir to flip his camera? I think it's the other way around. So some of our research scholars, because sir has joined through laptop, I think. So you can look at the icon and guide him how to do it. Because in mobile, I can say because I'm joining through a mobile phone.
Okay, if you say that I have to join through mobile, that I can try.
Okay. Sir, whatever is convenient for you.
No, in this one, if you can guide me, that will be good.
Achha. Okay, sir. So some of you, Vikas or Rajhan, some of you, how to do it on laptop, because I'm also
maybe a good idea could be to just turn your camera on. Right now we can hear you, but we can't see you. So you need to press the start video button, which would
start
be
video button. I did. When I do that, it is showing the sofa, not me.
Yes, because probably the camera is facing towards the sofa, sir. So you need to press, what Bhagisha was suggesting.
That's what in camera you have that option, no? That I am not able to locate it.
Oh, would you like to maybe just sit on the sofa and talk? Maybe that would work, sir.
Yeah.
But that will be on the other side of that. Okay.
Then I want people to see us.
Okay. Let me try. Otherwise, I will get back through.
Sir, please rotate your camera.
Sir, can you see an icon of a camera on your laptop screen where this Zoom is open? Icon of a camera.
Yeah.
Please press it. I think that is where the option must be. Please press it once. Let's try.
No, okay, otherwise I'll come through this. I will take to. Am I visible now?
Yes, sir, you are visible.
I am visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, now you're visible, sir. Please start.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. I just don't know. I'm using Zoom, but this did not happen to me earlier. Anyway, I'm happy that I could be in touch with you. Thank you for making me part of Professor Manoranjan Jha Memorial Lecture of your department. I have heard and read so many good things about BHU and also about scholars like Professor Jha of your department. I think it was some 10 years ago that I, with the help of, with my wife and daughter, came to Banaras as tourists. So the last day of my tour, we thought we should come and visit BHU. And we engaged a taxi and moved around the campus, well-planned campus with historic buildings and tall trees on either side of the road. I was so tempted to get down and look for a political science department, but there was little time for that. And I am happy that this way I could relate to the department, to the teachers, scholars, and students of the department. I'm very thankful to Professor Shubharao for inviting me and to Dr. Anjaya for contacting me. As I informed you, in Northeastern Hill University, I teach a paper called, it's titled as Critical Traditions in Western Political Theory, where I happen to discuss some of these Frankfurt School theories, whether it is Horkheimer or Theodor Adorno or Herbert Marcuse and others. When I go through their writings, I understand the kind of socio-economic changes that are taking place in Western capitalist societies.
39 log jude hain.
But I was always thinking how far their theories are able to explain Indian reality. Okay, that is what which led me to this talk. In this talk, basically, I'm dividing that into three parts. From the introduction, which is already given. I know that some of the teachers are already familiar with culture industry theory and concept, but definitely, but I think that there will be some scholars and students who may not be fully familiar with it. So in the first part, I start with the theory to give you a conceptual understanding of the idea of culture industry. So in the second part, I will talk about cinema as one of the pillars of culture industry. And I will also talk about little bit, if there is time permits, on TV industry. So, and its growth over a period of time. And in the third part, I will come to the critical aspect of it, where I will try to discuss the implications, political implications of these industries, these so-called entertainment industries, and how they influence our thoughts and our minds. Okay. Now let me come to the first part of the theory. The concept of culture industry was mooted for the first time by Max Horkheimer and Theodore Adorno in their book called Dialectic of Enlightenment, published in 1944. Adorno elaborated this theme further with the help of his colleagues in his subsequent writings. Herbert Marcuse, another Frankfurt School theorist, also reflected on this development of culture industry in his famous book, One-Dimensional Man. All their ideas can be summarized as follows. First, they believe that prior to the development of monopoly capitalism, art and culture used to be an expression of human spontaneity and individuality. Art and artists enjoyed a considerable amount of autonomy. And you can say the art has use value, but they were not fully commodified. But all this spontaneity and autonomy that the art and culture had began to disappear once monopoly capitalism take their roots. So with the rise of state monopoly capitalism, you know, both these Frankfurt School theories, they were earlier there in Germany, and they experienced Hitler's Nazi rule, and from there they migrated to America, and that way they had an opportunity to see what was going on both in Europe and also in America. Based on their experience, they came to this understanding that art and culture became commodities that can be sold and purchased. Culture, with the development of state monopoly capitalism, culture also develops into an industry, which can be run like any other corporate, industrial, and business corporations, with profit making becoming a motive force of cultural production. All artists, poets, writers, musicians, actors, singers, they all become wage workers, and they lose their autonomy and also creativity to some extent. According to Horkheimer and Adorno, culture industry is interested neither in protecting high art nor in popularizing folk art. It only aims at standardizing art forms to an extent where it can be profitably used to sell the product to large sections of the people. All products coming from culture industry in the form of songs, music, stories, radio, TV programs, or cinema, they lack authenticity or originality. Saleability is all that counts. Profit is what it seeks. But is it that it's only for profit that culture industry works? No, not just that. In addition to seeking profits, the theories say culture industry also works as an agency of mass deception. It does not educate or empower its consumers. Rather, it kills curiosity and inquisitiveness. They appeal primarily to our baser emotions. Culture industry promotes an ideology that makes us accept the status quo. In other words, it works like what Althusser would call as ideological state apparatus, intended to extend the ruling class hegemony over the society. So now the concept, the culture industry concept, if you see, when Adorno spoke of culture industry, he pinpointed the emerging commercial print media, radio, TV, cinema, and music industry in 1930s and 40s. Today, with advanced technologies, the scope of culture industry has increased far and wide to include different other entertainment industries such as animation, visual effects, gaming, and comic sector, or OTT platforms and other digital platforms. Thanks to IPL and also to Arnav Goswami, even sports and news channels have now become part of the entertainment industry these days. Many of these subsectors of culture industry they're all interrelated. One can see in India both national and foreign monopolies like Zee, Sony, T-Series, Balaji Films, Reliance, etc., having forays into more than one sector. They have their business in TV, cinema, music, OTT, advertising, fashion, and even management. Technically, all these sectors are assumed to be part of the entertainment industry. But we can view them as part of the culture industry because it seeks more than entertainment and profit. Our industrial development may be growing slow, but in India, we have been witnessing the growth of all these entertainment industries or subsectors of culture industry very rapidly. Considering the overwhelming impact of this sector on the people and society, in this paper, in this talk, I will concentrate first on films and if possible on TV, and leave other sectors for discussion. Now, history and growth of Indian cinema. Let us have a look at it. Some basic facts about the growth of Indian cinema are familiar to all of us. We know how all that started during the colonial era and attracted the attention of Indian enthusiasts. We know about Saheb Phalke's silent movie Raja Harishchandra, produced in 1913, and Ardeshir Irani's first talkie film, Alam Ara. Alam Ara, produced in 1931. Thereafter, movies were made in Hindi, Bengali, and South Indian languages with mythological, historical, and social themes. Some progressive directors try to make films on people's problems and also political issues. But there were restrictions on the films and political themes during the colonial period. However, after independence, many progressive directors and producers in different languages took to social and political themes. We had classics, Gobiga Jameen, Nagarik, Apu Triology, Mother India, Pyasa, Shri 420, etc. in 1950s and 60s. Of course, they went along with other movies which are family, romance, or comedies and historical oriented movies. But after this, I think you can see independence, there has been a gradual progress in technical fields like sound and cinematography, enhancing the visual and sound effects in these movies. With the establishment of more and more cinema halls in cities and small towns, cinema emerged as the popular medium of entertainment for the masses. I know that there are quite a few film historians who wrote about Indian films. The film historians, they basically reflected on the trajectory of Indian Republic and showed how the films of different times reflected the changing history of Indian Democratic Republic. The films of 1950s and early 1960s showing the hopes of newborn nation. That of the late 1960s and 70s, showcasing the anger against failures, disappointments, and frustrations. And 1980s dealing with the middle class dilemmas. And since 1990s, the cinema coming to represent the aspirational Indian middle classes, making big both within India and abroad. Although I more or less agree with their chronology, I found most of these film historians neglect the study of changing political economy of filmmaking in India since independence. I feel that there is a need to focus our attention on the kind of changes taking place in the financial side of filmmaking. You know, today, if you see films, Indian cinema industry is no more considering what it was in 1950s and 1960s. I give you some data to make you understand how our cinema industry has expanded over the decades. In 2019, there are 6,327 single screen and 3,200 multiplexes in India. In 2019, around 2,500 movies are made in our country. Gross box office collection of Indian movies in 2019 is 190 billions. India is a leading market in the world in terms of cinema tickets sold. Indian movies are now seen in more than 90 countries. Indian expats, we call them NRIs, account for 12% of the revenues of the movies. As such, the success of any Indian movie now depends considerably on the earnings from abroad as well. Film industry accounts for 20% of all revenues generated by Indian media and entertainment industries. Value of film industry in 2020 was 183 billion rupees. And all of you also know how much the star directors or heroes charge for each film. Now that itself runs to several hundred crores. Now you see the kind of changes which has taken place in film making. Almost up to 1980s, the films are made by individual or family-run film production centers. Production costs were then reasonable, within lakhs. Even the most commercially successful ones like Mughal-e-Azam and Sholay were done with a budget of 1.5 crore and 2.5 crores respectively. Compare that with the average budget of the films in recent times, which is never less than at least 100 crores. Successful films like Bahubali, KGF, and RRR are made with a budget running to 300 to 400 crores. Although the cost of engaging the grassroots casual artists and technicians are always as per the market rate, the cost of production and marketing of the films has increased enormously because of new technologies which are put in, and also due to increasing demand of the lead actors. In these circumstances, it is impossible for any individual or family production house to bear the entire cost of production of the film. Consequently, the nature of financing of films has dramatically changed, especially from 1990s. Economic liberalization allowed the entry of foreign direct investment and facilitated collaboration of Indian and foreign entertainment industries. Several global firms such as Warner Brothers, Walt Disney, Fox Stars, Viacom 18, and DreamWorks have set up distribution houses in India. They have also entered into partnership with the local film production houses, and also through acquisitions and co-production agreements, they started making films as well. Although one or two persons are always projected as producers, if you see the names, the titles of the films, they will show somebody as a director, and they also show one or two persons as producers. But these so-called producers are not the ones who invest all money. Yes, they may invest a part of the amount which is required, but much of that amount which is required for making
So please unmute yourself. You have got muted.
Sir, you need to unmute yourself. You have got muted.
Make out when it is muted.
Yes, you are audible now.
So is it that it is muted from the beginning?
No, sir. Just miss the last 1 minute.
So can one of you tell me where it is muted?
Say it was muted just for a few seconds. It is perfectly fine. You can continue.
It's only now it is muted, no? Okay. In that case, I can continue. Okay? Is that okay? I continue. Yeah. Now this is what I am trying to say. Now that in a very big way, the entertainment industry has entered India, and our own Indian entertainment companies are collaborating with that. So here, now here comes this change. Now if you see, the films is now escaping from the hands of individual producers or individual enthusiasts who want to produce films using their own resources. Right? So now it is depending more and more on funds that you procure from different sources. As such, now you know this is a very difficult foray, that unless you are able to procure so much of money, it is impossible to carry on film production. That is the reason why some of the old film production yeah. So now the new ones have taken their place. So the production houses are now have to be run on professional corporate lines. Leading production houses today that we have in India are Balaji Telefilms, Dharma Production, Eros International Media, Foxstar Studio India, Ramoji Film City, Reliance Big Entertainment, Wycombe 18 Media, and Eshraj Films. These are all important films, and they all are now run like any other modern industrial corporations. So it cannot be like the way that Raj Kapoor or Shantaram ran the studios at one point of time. That is no more possible under the modern conditions. So here, as films have become commodities now in national and international market, it cannot escape market vicissitudes. Okay, not every film can make money. Just because you have invested so much of money, it doesn't mean that you will get profits. So it enters market, and quality alone cannot ensure the success of the films. Like the industrial products, the films have to compete in the market to attract the customers. like other industrial products, only those products that attract the customers could make profits. Not even 1/10 of the films made in the country are able to recover the cost of production. But that does not stop the entrepreneurs from exploring profits. For the show must go on. Now, I can say the same things about the TV industry also, which has come up little late after independence. So it was only in 1970s that the TV kendras are started in different cities, and we know the basic story that it is only after the Asian Games in 1982 that it became a household name, and it started expanding. Of course, Doordarshan was the only TV channel up to 1992. This was the thing, and Doordarshan had its heydays in 1980s. But after you can see liberalization, now it was open to the private channels, and now you have more than 800 TV channels of different strength and magnitude. And you can see they have there also here also FDI has penetrated. Now 100% FDI is allowed in the TV industry. As a result, you can see there is a lot of technological development, collaborations taking place here, and some of these TV industries have become so powerful, and they you can see the reach. If you ask me the details, I can give you afterwards. They gain enormous amount of profits, and they become one of the important source of generation of revenue, for the state, and also a source of profit for entertainment industries. So these are the things which I will skip through. But why the reason is that when we talk about the culture industry, my intention is not just to show that this entertainment industry has become a monopoly industry. Yes, it has. That is one side of the story. Now it is not so much interested on producing films for the people. They basically produce for profits. So that is one part of the story. But there is the other side of the theory of culture industries, which I am more particular. So there I come to the content of these cultural products produced in this culture industry. In case of the West, culture industry emerged in advanced capitalist countries, which have already, where the society has already become capitalist. So the society was already individualist, competitive, secular in some respects, I think, and more or less urbanized. But it is not so. In our, when it comes to India, we have now a culture industry which is to be run on a capitalist lines, but it operates in a kind of society which is, mixture of, different forms of culture. You have some elements of capitalism here, and we also see some elements of semi-feudalism or casteism, patriarchy, and what you can say, even colonialism, influencing our minds and thoughts. And all that gets reflected even in the content of our products of culture industry. And that is what I want to show and say, how some of the things which Adorno says are relevant even to Indian context. You know that Adorno says that increasing number of cultural products does not necessarily mean that there is diversity and there is greater representation. That there are, as I told you, 2,500 films. Is that does it mean that these films now have become so diverse and reflecting all facets of human existence in India? Or so many channels have come now. There was only Doordarshan once. Now you have 800 channels, several entertainment channels. Is it that the quality of the products have improved? Because there are more channels. So it is there that long back Adorno said, no, it may be more in number, but all the same. This is a very important aspect of Adorno's thinking. So he says that we can have thousands of movies and TV shows aired every year, but hardly few stand out. So many these movies and TV channels, but their content is similar and familiar. Okay, so the generation which has seen the heydays of TV, I mean Doordarshan in 1980s, now they are so nostalgic about what happened at the time, and they still think about the epics like Hum Log or Bunyad and others, and they don't see, because they don't see a better and diverse channel content in the commercial channels which are there today. So also in the case of films, the content of the films, if you see, the content of the films that you see in 1950s and 60s is something which you don't see in 2020s. Though you can say technologically, it has become more spectacular and it is very attractive. So it is here that some of the things which he says, we can look at it and see whether it makes sense to our times. So the products that emanate from culture industry today are no doubt technologically sound and visually engaging compared to the older ones. But when it comes to content, most of them are based on certain tested formulas. Of course, the formulas differ from the West and the East countries like India. If you see India itself, we have certain formula-based films. So one is individual love, projecting individual love as the ultimate thing in the films. So the love between rich and poor, between warring families. So that is one genre which attracts. And the second one is family feuds and conspiracies. So within this family, what all goes on? One conspiring against the other. So to divide the unity of the families and how you cope up with that and how you ultimately establish the unity or sanctity of family. This is one genre. Then you can also see, one, you can say the formula, and the other one we can see Lost and Found. That was very popular in the 1980s. So in Mela, the family separates and one becomes police, one becomes this thief, and all of them meet ultimately at the end. So all this kind of thing, it was another kind of formula which was very popular at one point of time. Then another formula is failure to success. You are nothing at one time, but you work hard and hard and hard, and you become a rich man, you become a famous man. So this is another kind of formula that we have. And the other one, which is strong even today in the Hindi industry, is good police versus bad buddies. So there is a good police who will take on all the bad buddies and then give them left and right and straighten them. So that's the one important thing. Of course, there may be other genres, like, for example, there can be, scary movies. So their haunted house is one important genre. So all of them go to one haunted house and there are devils, and how do you deal with that? And the recent one is what we say, the nationalist kind of things, Pakistan terrorism versus Mera Bharat Mahan, this kind of things which we see. And also, if it is religious, it is God versus Satan. So there is a Satan killing all the people, and the God will come and rescue them. And if it is historical, then it becomes our kings versus those bad invaders. And then the other thing which we can say is challenge and revenge. You are challenged. Oh, you cannot do it. Say, no, I can prove that. And then you work on it and you prove that you are. You are this and that. Or you done not something happened, you take a revenge and what happened to your family and others, you take a revenge. This is a popular kind of thing even in the Hollywood. So these are certain kind of tested formulas, and many of them rotate in these formulas. Every producer or a director or this one or actor, while making publicity for their films, they always say that their films are of different kind, but the differences are very narrow and superficial. Okay, in one, the rich lover may be a boy, and in another it may be girl. Or sometimes in the family feuds, mother-in-law may be a bad person. In some others, sister-in-law may be a bad person. In like that, you can see the permutations and combinations of these. There is not that much, there is a much of a difference. You can replace one by the other, but the same, in essence, the formula stands. So most of them are hesitant to go out of the formulas to take up any kind of different kinds of stories. So here comes the last part of my lecture. I admit that when I am saying all these tested stories, I don't say that there are no films on social themes. Some of them, even commercial movies, make films on social themes. And some of them even project the problem properly or fairly to some extent. But when it comes to solution, the movies take to cinematic time. Like the gods who come to save the devotees. The hero comes to teach a lesson to the bad buddies. Be it in family or community, village or city, it is the hero who ultimately comes to do that. And this hero, at one time, he was fighting only with another man or a few, 3-4 members. Now the number increased to hundreds and even thousands. One man taking over thousands of people and killing them and teaching them a lesson. That is the kind of things. So these sometimes they don't say that the film heroes are all good. Sometimes they also show them as in a gray areas. They show the gray areas. But even those rebellious heroes, they also act within the system and never against the system. So this is the thing. That means that I'm a bad thief. I want to become, I earn a lot of money and then become a good man ultimately. So, but I may be suppressed, but I taking advantage of what is there in the system, I become an important person, a politician, or a businessman, or even a husband of a beautiful lady. So this is what thing you want to become something within the system and never against the system. Yeah? So here, then how do they project the people? This is very important for us. Yeah? How do they project the people? The mainstream movies never show the people as agents of social change. Agents of social change as those who have the ability to understand their problems through their experience and fight out for their solutions. So here, the masses are at best shown as victims. They are shown as victims who cry when the villain strikes, or start hailing, singing, and dancing when the hero, who is usually an upper caste male from majoritarian community, arrives to take on the bad buddies. So that's the kind of things. They are there to either cry or to sing songs. So if there are problems, just as we look for God, the people in the films also look for the hero to come. So when the hero comes, then we start listening. This is the kind of thing. So the problems will be taken care of by heroes, not by the people. So the mainstream Indian cinema refies patriarchal, casteist, and class values. Even when you abhor them, sometimes you criticize them also. But the changing of the system is always given to the heroes and superheroes. Others will come and change the system. We don't need to do that. So that's the thing. They drive the audience to the make-believe world. You enter into a make-believe world and you think, oh, this is how the world is and this is how the things are going to be. And a superhero comes ultimately to resolve all your problems. So it is in that sense, culture industry purports to provide entertainment to the viewers. Yes, entertainment. So that is what, there is this important thing, entertainment, and entertainment. So most of us also go to the movies just for entertainment. You don't want to learn anything from the movies. You say that I'm already tired of the real world, so I want an escape. Right? So this is the thing. So it is entertainment, but entertainment devoid of redeeming features. Cinema becomes an escapist route to most of the audience. We tend to see movies not to learn or to realize, but escape into a make-believe world where there is going to be love, happiness, and fun. So in family, we will always be quarreling, but in films, we always see ideal families or thinking. So that is what wife and husband always fight at home, but you will see such a romantic thing pictures in the films. We never love, we accept the arranged marriages, but in films, always they love and marry. So this is the kind of make-believe world that we create and a thing. And this kind of world that they construct, that the films construct, they don't empower us really. They make the audience passive and docile. So I know that to contradict my thesis, you may cite certain examples from by showing citing films of Satyajit Ray or the parallel movies which were in existence in 1970s and 1980s, or also refer to some of the few movies that come every now and then, even today, meaningful movies or things that may come today. I don't deny that some exceptional movies or TV dramas make their appearance at times, but they are only exceptions. In the majority of the mainstream movies stick to the tested commercial formula, and they don't aim at anything higher than it, as long as the box office collections are not affected. In this sense, as Adorno says, the mainstream movies or TV operas as part of the culture industry acts as instrument of mass deception. There is no way film industry goes back to the golden era of 1950s and 1960s, where monopoly cartels have not yet taken strong roots. So also you cannot go back to the heydays of Doordarshan of 1980s. So there may be hundreds of TV channels, but still we will be content with a mediocre, repetitive stuff. And I stop here. Now I leave it to you for your comments and suggestions. Thank you very much for listening to me patiently for about an hour. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. I would like now to request rather Dr. Bhagisha Suman to start with her summarizing of the lecture, and she would then invite questions from the listeners. So over to Dr. Bhagisha Suman.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you so much, Professor Srikanth, sir, for taking us through this very interesting tour of Indian film and TV industry. It was indeed very enlightening and a very beautiful example of how we could actually bring forth a theory which was written in a completely different geographical, cultural context, being applied to our contemporary times of India, and especially in the context of Indian film and TV industry. It was very interesting to see the whole, how you questioned the whole narrative about the Indian film industry, which is generally woven around the question of hopes, despair, socioeconomic problems, which were highlighted at one point of time, and how under the scourge of globalization and with the market capitalism making inroads into our lives, how the TV and film industry, they have fallen prey to what you have just called as what they are selling as the cultural products or the cultural commodities, which are mostly homogeneous, very similar in content, and how the choices which we are being offered by these production houses, which were once family run mostly, and now with the LPG phenomenon and market capitalism, how they have fallen prey to completely this market trap. So it was indeed very interesting and very knowledgeable in the sense that we also came to actually know about how the huge this whole industry is, not just in terms of the tangible presence it has in our mental space, but also in terms of the material side of it, how huge it is. And it was very interesting to know, which we already somehow know, that no matter how huge the industry is, the kind of diversity which we should generally expect from this huge number, from this huge flooding of the kind of programs which are aired, from the kind of movies which we are seeing, and it is very self-explanatory. The kind of successes which we are witnessing with the movies like Bahubali, Triple R. I have just two quick questions. I probably missed one point when we were basically comparing the Indian society with the European society, in the context that the society in India, we cannot say that it is so much individualized. We still have a mixture of capitalism, semi-feudalism, colonialism. So what repercussion does this difference has for, let's say, India and the kind of cultural industry which you are positing in relation to India, let's say, compared to Europe? Second query is regarding this talent hunt shows. Now, when using this critical lens, one argues that this whatever is offered on our plate is something which we are our choices are being pre-guided or predetermined. But commoners, they would give this argument that at least it is giving a platform or a kind of this thing to many meritorious, many talented young people. And at that point, people like us, they stop that at least they are giving some showcasing of talent. So, and then ultimately the question remains, this critical lens, which is very important, that what is the solution? I mean, those who are actually working, let's say, the nexus of this market state, this cartels, film industry, all of this which we are talking about, how can we basically control it? So very preliminary and very basic questions, sir. And the house is open to question and answer session. Please, people, you can write it also in the chat box. I can read it out for you, or you can just raise directly. It is better if you raise your questions directly to sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I am taking note of your questions. How do you want me to go about answer question after question, or?
I think because we don't have right now immediately, does anyone want to throw some questions before sir?
Can I come in quickly?
Yeah.
It's continuation to what Bagisha asked. A very good afternoon, sir, and thank you so much for this very interesting lecture. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm Priyanka. I teach here at Banaras University in their department. So, in the recent times, we see that there is a flurry of alternative modes of entertainment. And this is where I want to bring the online platforms, the OTT. And we have seen over the last few years, OTT has been very successful in bringing series which have been grappling with the concerns of the common man. And most recently, I saw this series on OTT, which was Nirmal Pathak Ki Ghar Vapsi. And I thought it was a brilliant showcase, brilliant critical intake into a certain intersectionality, raising caste concerns, raising gender concerns, and also how the rural Bharat kind of engages and lives with a lot of these challenges. Also, Panchayat was a brilliant showcase into how things happen in the everydayness. So how do you see that? And also the mainstream cinema is always problematic, at least from a gendered predicament, the kind of sexism. And also a lot of these shows, which are the comedy shows, a lot of these jokes are always at the on the cost of a lot of women. So the mainstream sort of platforms carrying on with the challenges, and the alternative that the OTT kind of showcases with a certain kind of sensibility. I think the OTT is now in some way taking the form of parallel mode of entertainment, the kind of concerns that the alternate cinema or the parallel cinema would raise. Thank you once again, sir, for a brilliant lecture. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Is it that I keep my views and you can meanwhile frame your questions?
Yes, sir, that will be perfect.
Okay. So when it the first questions were raised about the Indian culture, you can see, all films, especially I come from South India and other, it's I think here most of the films, family become very important. It is in reality what happens with this the way that the films deal with the culture is one trying to support the kind of system which exists or which is even dying. and romanticize the kind of system which should not have been there, which is not compatible with democracy. For example, many of the family-oriented films that we see, they make, they valorize, what do you say, the joint families, which has now ceased to exist. But you romanticize joint family system and try to say the virtues of joint family. Or sometimes you start saying, in the name of the values, how women have to be there. Teaching a lesson to women as to how she should be in the family. So that is very important component of that. There you can see in these family-oriented movies, you hardly find a space for women. And also they are caste-oriented. You can see in many of these movies, you talk about Thakur, the pride of Thakur, or such kind of upper caste people. Is it that the lower caste don't have a pride? They don't find any space in the cinema. The Thakur, the caste kind of things, one comes up, whether you like it or not. So such kind of things you make it. And religion is another one. Though it may not be religion everywhere. And nobody wants to touch that because they are scared of seeing anything which is religious. So it is in that sense, you may be capitalist. There are certain things which you don't want to touch. That is what happens. So you may be even NRI, but you will come back home and touch the feet of your mother. It doesn't happen in real life. Most of our people, we love our mother, but it is not that every day we touch others. But that is what happens in the films, and where we start accepting it. So that is one way of how our culture forces the to reflect it in a particular way. That is one. And the talent shows, this argument is always there. It gives an opportunity for the marginalized sections to come out. Even that is done for commercial. You see just how it is done in all these Indian Idol or other things. They go on they go to the slums, they go to interior villages or remote areas and find it out, and then pick up somebody and say, oh, see, he's from these poor families, he's from the unorganized section, he doesn't have parents, he doesn't have that, but she has a talent. So while protecting it, what you are doing is you are getting an audience. If it is only among certain sections of people, you don't get audience. If you have to get audience, you have to go to all parts of India, all sections of the people, because this is very important for the survival of the TV industry or entertainment industry. How many people watch your programs? So when you think that, oh, a person from my community or my region, my state is contesting, you look at it more attentively than when some others are doing it. So you bring people from different and dramatize their personal lives and create stories as if they love each other, they hate each other, and all that kind of things, and you create interest. So this is an entertainment. It is not just, don't think that they are only testing the musical talents of individuals. No, they are doing it for entertaining it, taking us to a different world. They weep, they cry, they show anger, they show protest. All of them are actually preconceived.
none of them are actually or something which happens automatically or right on the stage. Most of them are stage managed. That is what we have to understand. So it is true that some of them get to limelight for some time, but just imagine what happens to them when the program is over. How many of them are remembered after the program is over? How many of the Indian Idol contestants are making a career after the shows are done? Now, I don't know, 15 or 16, how many shows are done. Only a few of them could make a career. Many of them disappeared. And we don't even bother about them. Because now a new people will be projected year after year. And we run after them. Huh? So this is the kind of things, it gives a kind of hope. I think, and of course, another question was on OTT. Yes, on OTT, I found a very critical content and films. Even on this subject of what is this talent shows, I found very important, very interesting this series. I forgot the title. It is done by what is that man who acted as Bhagat Singh in that film. It was a very interesting story where he showed how this entertainment industry uses these individuals for commercial purpose. Very interesting thing. Yes, in OTT you have a different kind of content which is coming, which is perhaps not possible in the films. But you should understand that even OTT platforms are commercial platforms. Commercial platforms. I admit that some of the content which was not visible in TV operas or Indian films or made in OTT, but you see some of them, even the anti-heroes that these OTT platforms created, they are also one who want to become something big within the system. You hardly have kind of things which question and want to change the system. Yes, they may. Some of them are very vulgar also. Some of them too much of violence also, because they are not within the bounds of what is that censorship. So taking advantage of that, you have a very vulgar kind of content also played on OTT. But it is also true that there are also critical films which could expose casteism or communalism or class divisions rampant within the OTT platforms. But you should understand that we are not sure how long this will go on. The state is already looking for an opportunity or ways to bring OTT content into the what is the purview of the government. When the people are very angry with OTT platforms because of its content, and there is a demand from a very powerful section of the society to tame the OTT. So we are not sure whether the same kind of OTT content continues or it will change, and it will also become tame kind of stories in the years to come. So let us wait and see. This is what I would say. Anything more?
Does anyone else want to pose any question to sir? Participants? If not, then we will conclude our session. Ma'am, can we go ahead with the conclusion?
So I just would like to say that one of the studies says that each individual spends 3.5 hours a day in front of TV. In front of TV. And in that, 70% of the time he devotes for entertainment. That is, they either watch TV soap operas or films. Films are the commercial films. Now you can see the impact of that. If you are taking the content every day, and you know now more than 20 crore people have access to TV sets. TV sets, so they may not be having a lavatory at home, but they all have TV sets. And now they're listening to all this trash day after day. And the kind of the people that come out of that is also something that we need to worry. We need to worry, and that is what I want you to think. Maybe the students are there, they also reflect on the kind of things that they are watching or eulogizing or supporting or standing for. With this, I stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Am I audible? I think I'm audible now. And yes, you did choose a very, very pertinent topic, sir. And I think generally we tend to think that this is beyond academics, beyond the purview of our academic concerns, but it isn't. And how is it not? How is it very pertinent? You have proved it very well in your lecture. And how I see that what all this leads up to, it all leads up to, I think, a kind of a deterioration in the basic aesthetic appreciation of life, of art and beauty, and ultimately it all trickles down to how you perceive life and what you value in life. So by giving us the gigantic political economic aspect of the whole entertainment industry, you have in a way opened our eyes, given us a very important picture, the economic side of the entertainment industry. But how I see, or before your lecture, how I perceived everything, that I was critical of this whole entertainment industry because of its propagation of low taste, low aesthetic taste, and low value system. So, but I'm happy that you have enlightened us on another very important economic aspect. So I'm so thankful to you. And now I request Dr. Bagisha to give you a formal vote of thanks.
So I, on behalf of the Department of Political Science, thank Professor H. Srikanth sir for his brilliant lecture, for his brilliant take on the topic of political economy of culture industry in India. I thank all our senior colleagues, our head, Professor Shubha Rao, for instilling this culture of weekly lecture series in our department, which is bringing forth a galaxy of scholars and so diverse kind of topics which we are getting to listen every week. I thank our research scholars, our other students who have participated in this lecture. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.